All right, what's going on, my friends? Chad here. It's now 3 o'clock. Trailblazers dropped a close win in Phoenix last night, 116 to 109. Robert Williams made his return from the concussion protocol. He went 4 of 4. Denny Avia, 17 points out the bench. Simons led the team with 20. The Blazers now will get 3 days off. Denver in town Thursday night. Tip from Moto will be at 7. The Blazers are 8 and 18 on the season. From the NFL, the Detroit Lions took more than just a loss to the Bills yesterday. Running back David Montgomery done for the season with a knee injury. Defensive tackle Aleem McNeil has a torn ACL. Starting corner Carlton Davis has a fractured jaw. And cornerback Khalil Dorsey suffered an ankle injury. He, too, is done for the year. The Lions entering the game had 13 players on defense on the IR. Monday Night Football doubleheader at 5 on ABC. Bears at the Vikings. Minnesota favored by 7 at 5:30 on ESPN. The Falcons are at the Raiders. Atlanta favored by 6.5. And the 49ers have suspended linebacker Devondre Campbell 3 games for refusing to enter Thursday's game against the Rams.
This is going to be a double pass. They throw it, complete it, throw it back to Richardson. It's going to be intercepted. Intercepted Nick Bonito. Bonito to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver. 50 yards on the pick six.
Taylor breaking away. Taylor, touchdown. Oh, boy. My goodness, Taylor, did he drop it before he broke the plane? Stay with us. Well, if you're a Colts fan, I hope you're sitting down. The Jonathan Taylor touchdown run overturned, dropped the football before he crossed the plane, and because it bounced into the end zone and out of bounds, it's a touchback, and Denver gets the football. Just unbelievable. So it wipes away a 41-yard touchdown. Let's bring in Gene's territory. Gene, take us through that last sequence.
You know, Spiro, you nailed it. And again, we've seen this happen more than once this year. The player's not breaking the plane of the goal line. The ball comes loose. We see him let it go before it breaks the plane. We have a fumble in the field of play, and we all know now that a fumble in the field of play rolling through the end zone, out of the end zone, the result is a touchback. We clearly see him dropping the football before it breaks the plane of the goal line.
Yeah! All right, what's going on, my friends? Chad doing, Michael Shacker with you, Rip City Drive. I think we have some goodies to give away. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me to talk some ball at 4:20. I think he told me he's going to be in Vegas for the Raiders and Falcons. He's going to the game tonight, so we'll talk to Brian No, and then we'll get a Bo Nix update with my man Ryan Edwards from Denver at 5:20. What a win for the Broncos, who are 9-5, 4 straight wins for Bo Nix. He's got a winning streak now of 3 games and 4 games in his rookie season in Denver with that win yesterday over the Colts. And by the way, they had no business winning that football game, but they did. They now have over a 90% chance to make the postseason. In fact, they're going to play the Chargers on Thursday night. And if they beat the Chargers in that game, they will lock up a playoff spot for the first time since 2015 and likely lock up the number 6 seed, not the 7, in the AFC playoff picture. So a big weekend coming up for the Broncos, which is pretty awesome. And I'm excited about that. But a lot of different things I want to talk about today. We'll get to college football here in just a moment. I got a lot of thoughts on the NFL. There were some big games yesterday, and there are a number of teams who are getting ravaged by injury right now, which is going to change the Super Bowl picture. So some things to keep in mind. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on social at Chad in Rip City. At Chad in Rip City. You can also hit me up direct at 503-248-0620 if you want to jump on the show. We'll get to the NFL coming up in 20 minutes, but I want to start with college football. Army-Navy was awesome. In fact, that was I mentioned the biggest Army-Navy game of my lifetime. That was the most in terms of total wins at 19, I think, in the history of that game. Army had 11, Navy had 8 going in, and Navy as a 6.5-point dog gets the outright win. My condolences to Travis Demers, who's a big Army fan, but that was a terrific football game, a great scene. And I hope that college football finds a way to continue to keep Army and Navy as a standalone game moving into the future. But it's going to be tough with the schedule and the college football playoff, but I hope that they figure out a way to make that happen. That game deserves its own day, its own time, and no other interference. But you know what? The college football season, and we got the playoff, which will kick off coming up on Friday with Indiana at Notre Dame. I'm going to be live at Spirit Mountain Casino from 3 until 6 broadcasting and getting ready for the kickoff of the college football playoff. So join me there, Spirit Mountain Casino, where you can actually wager on college football. Join me at Spirit Mountain Casino. I'll be down there from 3 to 6 with the Rip City Drive. We're going to have prizes to give away. Tito's Vodka will have prizes to give away along with Spirit Mountain Casino. And I'll be broadcasting live from 3 until 6. But the season this year, so many great stories. So many great stories. And it's hard to pinpoint the one which is the best of the entire college football season. Indiana was 3-9 last year. They're 11-1 this year under Coach Cignetti, and they're in the college football playoff. And they'll take on Notre Dame, in-state rival Notre Dame, coming up on Friday in South Bend. How awesome is that? The story of Indiana. 11-1 under Coach Cignetti after going 3-9. And then you've got Arizona State, back-to-back 3-win seasons. Herm Edwards tried to run the program into the ground and succeeded. They were under sanctions. Kenny Dillingham takes over, youngest coach in the FBS, and in his second year wins a Big 12 championship and has the Sun Devils in the playoff, which is unbelievable. Not to mention they had one of the best stories at running back in Cam Scatteraboo, who came in 5th in the Heisman voting. They've got Sam Levitt, redshirt freshman out of West Lynn, who had a monster year. I think he's the second best quarterback right now in the college football playoff. Arizona State is a great story. How about Army winning a conference championship and winning 11 games? Even though they lost to Navy, they were in the playoff discussion throughout the course of the season. They had a big year, and they had Captain America at quarterback who was in the Heisman discussion. Boise State getting a bye in the playoff, won their conference behind the nation's best running back, Ashton Jeanty. You've got Oregon, the only unbeaten team in the FBS, going from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel and never missed a beat. And the Ducks right now in what could be the best position in their history to win a national championship. And they're one of the 4 massive favorites to get the job done. The Ducks have had a tremendous year, especially when you look back to the first 2 weeks against Idaho and Boise, when a number of Duck fans were losing their mind and freaking out. They settled in. Lanning and his staff continued to coach up the guys, and they finish out the season unbeaten and beat Penn State in the Big Ten title game, win a conference title, and now they're the number 1 seed in the playoff behind Dylan Gabriel, who is a terrific human, great quarterback, great teammate, and it's been a seamless transition from Nix to Gabriel. Those are just a few of the great stories from college football this year, and many are made possible from the expansion of the college football playoff to 12 teams. More teams with hope, more teams with interest, more fan bases with hope and interest throughout the entire season, giving us multiple games every Saturday with playoff implications. It was terrific. Now, another great story in college football is that of Colorado. Now, I understand that a number of you don't like Coach Prime. You don't like the way he rolls. You don't like the way he handles himself. You don't like the way he took over the Colorado program. But whether you love the guy or you despise the guy, you cannot deny what he's done at Colorado and how tremendous he and his staff have done, the work they put in and the way they turned the program around. Now, keep in mind, he took over a program 2 years ago that won 1 game, and they lost their games by an average margin of like 29 points. They were awful, the worst team in Division I football by far. Coach Prime comes in with Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, and Travis Hunter, and within 2 years, they're at 9 wins. They lost out on a chance to go to the Big 12 title game because of a tie break, but they're right there knocking on the door. And not only that, they have 2 players who are going to be taken inside the top 5 of the upcoming NFL draft. His son, Shedeur, likely to be the number 1 player taken overall because he's a quarterback. And you've got Travis Hunter, who is now a Heisman Trophy winner. All within 2 years. They went from 1 win, worst team in college football, to now challenging for a conference championship, going to the Alamo Bowl, 2 players who will be taken inside the top 5 of the NFL draft, and 1 player who is a Heisman Trophy winner.
It is my honor to announce that the 2024 Heisman Award goes to Travis Hunter.
Yeah, it was close. He edged out Ashton Jeanty, who was also very worthy of the award. I have no issue with Travis Hunter getting the award. What he did by going full-time on both offense and defense is truly remarkable. And he did both positions, corner and receiver, at a very high level. And we don't see people like Travis Hunter very often. He's a special, special player and very deserving of the Heisman Trophy. And what was really cool was how humble and well he handled himself at the podium. He's a good dude. Travis Hunter is a good dude, and he took time to thank Coach Prime.
I want to thank Coach Prime, Shedeur. Man, y'all changed my life forever. That one simple phone call, Shedeur, look where I'm at. Man, that's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I'm trying not to get emotional because I know our last game coming up soon. But I'm thankful for both of y'all. Coach Prime, I'm going to whoop you on that lake tomorrow or whenever we get the chance. But thank you, man. You changed my life forever. I told you that multiple times.
He also took time to give love to Lil Wayne.
Wayne. Now, I didn't know none of your songs until she let me know, because I don't listen to music. She let me know. She told me, you got to listen to this. If you don't listen to music, listen to Wayne. And from that day on, that's all I listen to, pre-game music. That's the song. Those are the songs I listen to. When I get in that TRX and I blast that music, I'm listening to Wayne. It's crazy. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot high. That's my song. I'm telling you, man, that junk's crazy. I respect you for coming out here, coming to support me, man.
Yeah, Travis Hunter's awesome. And props to Coach Prime for the work he did at Colorado. He overhauled the roster in year one with the transfer portal, and they continued to coach up the players. They became better on defense. They had more balance on offense this year, and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter were lights out. They were terrific. And Coach Prime, I've been a big fan of his for quite some time. I loved him as a player, but I really respected him a couple of years ago when I did some deep digging on his transition to Jackson State and why he chose to jump into the coaching ranks at the HCBU level. Well, why would he do that? Well, it was during the time with the pandemic and the social unrest, and there was a lot of turmoil, inside the country, as you know. He took a look around and what was taking place on social media, and people that were pointing fingers and lobbing grenades at one another, and he made a decision that he didn't want to become a part of the problem. So instead of sitting back and just pointing the finger at people, he wanted to actually go out and do something to make a difference in the lives of young men. So he took the job at Jackson State, and then with his work there, because he did a great job at Jackson State, he got the opportunity to go to Colorado. And with that, he's continued what he believes is his mission, which is to be a coach and make the difference in the lives of young men. And we've seen that. So I think Coach Prime deserves a lot of credit for the work he's done, he and his staff. And then, of course, the individuals, Travis Hunter, who is tremendous, Shedeur Sanders, who is a one heck of a tough cookie at quarterback, a big, strong arm, athlete, accurate, smart, understands the game. He's likely going to go number one. But just look back now at the college football season and how great it truly was. Whether you're talking about Colorado, 2 years removed from a one-win season when they were the worst in college football. They have a college they challenged for a conference championship. They've got a Heisman winner. And they're going to have 2 players taken in the top 5 of the draft. Oregon, the only unbeaten team in the FBS, going from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel, the work that Dan Lanning's done. Boise State getting a bye in the playoff behind the nation's best running back, Ashton Jeanty. Army winning a conference title and being in the playoff discussion. ASU, back-to-back 3-win seasons. Big 12 champs, they're in the playoff in Dillingham's second year, which, by the way, is his alma mater. And then Indiana, 3-9 to 11-1 under Coach Cignetti, and now they're in the playoff, and they'll take on Notre Dame on Friday. What a great football season it was. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. When we come back, we'll dive into the NFL, and we'll start with that ridiculous game in Denver yesterday. Bo Nix has his Broncos at 9-5. Aaron Rodgers may still have a little juice left in the tank. The Detroit Lions are in serious trouble. We'll talk about it next.
It's not just the positive. I believe if you want to achieve, I think anybody can achieve what you want to achieve.
Hey, come on, Kenny. Don't talk over Sade. That's inappropriate, my friend. I do think I have a man crush on Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham, former Oregon offensive coordinator, youngest coach in the FBS. He's now the head coach at his alma mater. He grew up in the Valley. He and his family were huge Sun Devil fans, and they actually won awards for being huge Sun Devil fans, like Tailgaters of the Year and stuff. It's pretty wild. But I just like the way he handles his business. And here he is, talking about his outlook and the way he approaches coaching in life. It's pretty sweet.
It's not just the positive. I believe if you want to achieve, I think anybody can achieve what you want to achieve. If you want something, like there's an avenue to do it, even if you don't know there's an avenue to do it, you can find a way to get it done. Even if people say it's impossible, okay, it may be impossible, it may be very difficult, but you can at least give it everything you got to achieve it and not make excuses. Okay, like when I was here many years ago, I got demoted the day before fall camp by Todd Graham for Taylor Kelly. That did not feel good. Was it the right decision? Hell yes. Taylor Kelly wanted to be a GA, and I was a nobody. Promote Taylor Kelly. I agree. Demote me, right? I don't blame it. But it's if you let all that stuff affect you in a negative way and you don't just stay focused on just being the very best version of you, then you'll never achieve what you could have achieved. So it's more just the mindset of control what you can control, not just being positive. It's I can't control these bad things that maybe have happened, but I can control my response to them, and I can repeat that control over and over again. And that's what I think we're trying to instill in our guys is who cares what people say? All you can do is your best over and over and over again. And if you do that, you should be happy because you gave it your all. What else could you be mad about? You did everything you could. You lost. Sorry. Be pissed off for a little bit. But then you did everything you could. Repeat.
Boom. Love that. What a great coach. And I love what he's doing right now with his players, where he's allowing guys to enter the portal and still remain a part of the team so they can take part in the playoff ride if they so choose. Now, if they want to leave now because they feel like that's the best opportunity for them, because the problem is with the way the portal's set up, sometimes you have to make a commitment to a school, your new school, right away. And so you don't have time to hang out. You got to move quick because these schools are trying to make roster decisions. But Kenny Dillingham's giving them the opportunity to remain as a part of the team if they want. And I think that's great. And not only that, but he's actually helping sell his players who want to leave to other schools by letting them know the type of guys they are, the type of players they are. I mean, he's figured this out pretty quick. And it's tough, but he's not standing in their way. And he's not trying to throw mud on anything that they do. He just wants them to do what they believe is best for them. And he'll be honest with them. And I think that's great. That's the way to handle it. So Kenny Dillingham's doing things the right way. East Coast Earl has chimed in. Good choice of music, Sade. So fine. And I just simply responded and said, there is nothing I wouldn't do for her, to her, whatever she needs. I am here for Sade. I have been for a long time. And the Greatest Hits album is some of the best lovemaking music you'll ever find on the face of the earth, in my opinion. It's just one man's opinion, but I think East Coast Earl understands what I'm talking about. All right, let's talk some NFL. The Denver Broncos, here's what went down yesterday with Bo Nix. The Broncos entered Sunday's action they had a very simple goal. They were sitting at 8-5, coming off of a bye week, and they were hosting the Indianapolis Colts. If the Broncos win the game, the chances of them making the playoffs are extremely high, in fact, better than 90%. If they lose the game and lose the tiebreak to the Colts, it opens up a Pandora's box. They would be in trouble with the Chargers. They would be in trouble potentially with the Colts, and it would open the door for the Miami Dolphins. Lose, and you screw yourself. Win, and you put yourself in a prime position. And I mean a prime position. And so I was thinking, coming off the bye, they're feeling good after the Monday night win against Cleveland. They've got Sean Payton. I figured his, quote, greatness and genius on offense would be able to put together a plan and a scheme that would dice up the Colts. Well, I was wrong. The Broncos came out. Their defense was soft to start the game. The Colts ran the football right down the field. Anthony Richardson ran it in for a touchdown. The Broncos throw a pick on their first possession. The Colts go down and get a field goal, and it's 10-0 right out of the gate. And right away, I'm jumping right into grip mode. Immediate grip mode, not even a quarter into the game because the Broncos are playing like hot trash. And then I'm mad at Sean Payton because as much as I respect and appreciate the work he's done, he's also one arrogant SOB. It's like, if you're a genius, Sean, then why is this happening right now? What is going on out there? And I got to remember, too, with Bo Nix, as great as he's been this year, he's still a rookie, which means he's still susceptible to rookie-type situations and games. He threw 3 picks yesterday, but also threw 3 touchdowns. So the Broncos struggled through the first half. They're down 13-7 going into halftime. And after another Bo Nix turnover and a personal foul penalty, the Colts are in a prime position to take advantage of the opportunity and go up 20-7, and then this happened. Absolutely bonkers.
Taylor breaking away. Taylor, touchdown. Oh, boy. My goodness, Taylor, did he drop it before he broke the plane? Stay with us. Boy, if you're a Colts fan, I hope you're sitting down. The Jonathan Taylor touchdown run overturned, dropped the football before he crossed the plane, and because it bounced into the end zone and out of bounds, it's a touchback, and Denver gets the football. Just unbelievable. So it wipes away a 41-yard touchdown. Let's bring in Gene's territory. Gene, take us through that last sequence.
You know, Spiro, you nailed it. And again, we've seen this happen more than once this year. The player's not breaking the plane of the goal line. The ball comes loose. We see him let it go before it breaks the plane. We have a fumble in the field of play, and we all know now that a fumble in the field of play rolling through the end zone, out of the end zone, the result is a touchback. We clearly see him dropping the football before it breaks the plane of the goal line.
That play changed the outcome of the game. Jonathan Taylor, and I don't know why we see so many players do this. If anyone has a reason as to why players let go of the football before they get in the end zone, please let me know. It's one of the dumbest things, if not the dumbest thing you can do in the game. Now, if Devondre Campbell refusing to go into the game on Thursday night is the worst thing you can do in terms of code in the NFL with your relationship with your teammates and your coaches, I'll buy that. But in terms of just flat-out stupidity on the football field, letting go of the football before you enter the end zone because you're so focused on your celebration or whatever clown show you're going to put on, it's unbelievable to me. We see it happen in college. We see it happen in the NFL. I mean, you've got to be a real dum-dum to just let go of the football. Like, what are you doing? Hey, how can you just let go of the football and let it roll out of the end zone? Cross the plane. Get in the end zone and do whatever you want. But Jonathan Taylor, undisciplined, lets go of the ball, and the Broncos get back into it. They eventually force another turnover, get a field goal. It's 13-10, and then a great punt return from Marvin Mims set up a touchdown to give Denver the lead at 17-13. And then the Colts decided to try some type of ridiculous double pass back to the quarterback, and it resulted in greatness.
This is going to be a double pass. They throw it, complete it, throw it back to Richardson. It's going to be intercepted. Intercepted Nick Bonito. Bonito to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver. 50 yards on the pick six.
He's got 2 pick sixes on the year, second in the NFL in sacks, and Nick Casabenito is on his way to winning Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, just having an outrageous season for the Broncos. He played his college ball at Oklahoma, and now he's tearing it up. He's gotten stronger. He can defend the run. He gets another pick six. That's back-to-back games with a pick six for Nick Bonito, their outside pass rusher. It's incredible. And then it just snowballed. The Colts ended up turning it over 5 times. 5 times. And the Broncos win it going away 31-13 in a game they had no business winning at all. The Broncos ran it for like 65 yards. Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions, threw it for under 200 yards. I think it's the first time this year where a team has had a combined yardage total of less than 200 yards and won by double digits. I mean, really a poor outing for Denver, but this is what's great about football. Offense is a third, defense is a third, and special teams is a third. And the Broncos won 2 of those 3 battles. Special teams were elite, defense was elite, and they got the job done. And that's what I love about the NFL. There's no style points in the NFL like college football. It doesn't matter how much you beat a team by. It doesn't matter if you struggle for the majority of the game. Who gets the W at the end? Scoreboard. And I love that about the NFL. And the Broncos, because of that game, now sit at 9-5 with the upcoming game on Thursday in LA against the Chargers. And the winner of that game will likely get the 6th seed in the AFC playoff, which means you end up playing probably Pittsburgh instead of facing the Buffalo Bills. Now, who would you rather face in the playoffs, Buffalo or Pittsburgh? So that's what Denver's playing for right now. And I think what's great about Bo Nix in his first year, his rookie season coming out of Oregon is that they're doing it in a situation where they have a $90 million cap hit because of Russ being let go. So they don't have the resources to really load up the squad. They have young receivers who have been drafted out of Utah and Oregon. They have one vet in Cortland Sutton who's really good. They don't have a tight end to speak of, and they can't run the football worth a darn. Their offensive line is really good, and they've invested a lot of money in the offensive line. But the receivers are young, nothing at tight end. They can't run the football, and they've got a rookie quarterback. And yet Bo Nix is winning games and leading this football team where Sean Payton is saying, hey, it's all about you. We're going to put the game in your hands. And so he's making plays. He's making decisions. He's using his legs. And he's doing a lot of different things as a rookie that's very impressive to me. And I'm excited about it because Bo Nix is a good young man. I like the way he handles himself. Super smart, puts in the time, works hard. His teammates respect the heck out of him. And he was able to battle through adversity yesterday. And that is how you learn something about a quarterback, especially a young quarterback. How do you handle adversity? What if you throw 3 picks? How do you respond to that? Do you let it snowball into 4 or 5 picks, or do you find a way to make enough plays to lead your team to victory? Now, clearly, Bo Nix has got a lot of work to do to continue to improve, but the fact that he was able to survive that situation yesterday where they were not moving the football, things were not going their way, the ball was not bouncing their way, and then because of the stupidity of the Colts and the lack of discipline from the Colts, the Broncos were able to take advantage. Sean Payton's done a heck of a job. He's changed the culture, and year 2 for Sean Payton, and he's got the Broncos on the cusp of making the postseason, which in my mind is a bonus. I don't expect them to win a first-round playoff game in Pittsburgh or Baltimore or Buffalo or wherever they end up playing. But the fact that they're able to make the playoffs and at the same time discover that they have QB1 and Bo Nix is awesome. It's like gravy. But Bo Nix is great. Bo Nix and Justin Herbert, if you look at the last 20-plus years of Oregon quarterbacks, those 2 guys are the best pros. And they've had some great quarterbacks come through there. But Bo Nix and Justin Herbert are studs. And they're going to match up in this game on Thursday night, which is going to be great. So props to the Broncos, 9-5, 4 straight wins, and now 1 win. If they win on Thursday, they secure a playoff berth, which is pretty amazing. So credit to Sean Payton, credit to Bo Nix, and credit to the youngsters who have stepped up to assist their quarterback along the way. But the defense has done a heck of a job. And the good news is Pat Surtain, who left the game with a ankle injury, I think he was a full participant today, so it looks like he's going to be able to go. And that's very good news because their other corner, Riley Moss, is still out. He's probably not going to play Thursday. He'll probably be back the following week against Cincinnati coming off the Thursday game. And so they need Surtain. Best corner in the NFL, and it looks like he's going to be able to go on Thursday, which is terrific news. So the Broncos, 1 win away from securing a playoff berth, which is amazing. Now, the Buffalo Bills, it's funny how the NFL changes week to week or month to month. We get a look at some of these teams. We think we know who the best are, and then they kind of change position like a car race, right? Right now, the Buffalo Bills look virtually unstoppable with Josh Allen. And they beat the Lions on the road yesterday 48-42 in a high-scoring affair, coming off the 2-point loss, the 44-42 loss to the Rams last week in L.A., and after the game, Josh Allen talked about his crew.
I think we got, guys that are bought in. That's what it comes down to. And the run game that sets up the pass game and vice versa. I feel like I missed a couple throws tonight and can always find ways to get better. So we'll look at the film and look forward to next week.
All right, if you look at the NFL standings in the AFC, Buffalo right now sitting at 11-3, Pittsburgh at 10-4, and Kansas City is at 9-5. Or excuse me, 13-1. Houston's at 9-5. So they're 2 games behind the loss column. They're 2 games behind the Chiefs in the loss column, but they beat them earlier this year, so they've got the tie break. So if they finish with the same record, then Buffalo would get home field advantage and the bye. And that's a big deal for Buffalo because going on the road in that type of weather can be very difficult for, opposing teams, obviously. So if you look at Buffalo's remaining schedule, they're 11-3 right now, and their final 3 games of the year. Home against the Patriots, home against the Jets, at the Patriots. Win, win, win. They're going to finish 14-3, Buffalo. They're not going to lose a game to the Patriots or the Jets. It's not happening, especially when they get the Jets at home. So they're going to finish 14-3. Now, Kansas City's sitting at 13-1, and their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, got twisted up like a pretzel yesterday, so he's not 100%. They're 13-1. Here's the remaining schedule for the Chiefs. It's tough. Home against the Texans, at the Steelers, at the Broncos. There is a chance that Kansas City could lose 2 of their final 3 games and find themselves tied up with Buffalo atop the AFC, and Buffalo would get the nod because of the head-to-head meeting earlier this season. And now Buffalo is in a prime position to finally, maybe, possibly get over the hump. And we'll see how things shake out. But if you look at the playoff standings in both conferences, this is where it gets interesting to me. So if you look at the playoff standings, right now you've got Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston. Those are your 4 division winners. Baltimore, Denver, and the LA Chargers. I still think the 3 best teams are Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore. I'm not sure what to think about the other 4. Can they really contend? I guess the way I see it is one of the 3 teams, Kansas City, Buffalo, or Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Buffalo, or Baltimore, one of those 3 teams will go to the Super Bowl. But I do think the other 4 teams, whether it be Pittsburgh, Houston, Denver, or the Chargers, any of those 4 teams they have the ability to upset a higher seed in the postseason. So I expect one of those 3, KC, Buffalo, or Baltimore, to reach the Super Bowl, but the other 4 teams are capable of pulling off an upset in the postseason. In the NFC, now it's getting a little bit tricky. Detroit and Philadelphia, 12-2, both of them. Followed by Tampa at 8-6, the Rams at 8-6, the Vikings, because they're in the same division as Detroit, they're sitting there at 11-2. So they still have a chance to win the division. If not, they'll be likely the 5 seed. Green Bay coming off the win over Seattle, sitting there at 10-4. And then you've got Washington in the 7th spot at 9-5. I think Green Bay is very dangerous. I think Minnesota is very dangerous. And those 2 teams can go on the road and beat any of the 4 teams at the top. The problem with Detroit now, going into the game yesterday against Buffalo, they had 13 defensive players who were on the IR, which is awful. And then they lost 3 more defenders, 2 more defenders yesterday, and a running back. The problem with Detroit now is that they got 2 issues. One, their defense is severely beat up to where they can't stop anybody. And then you still have the issue of Dan Campbell and his decision-making. And I'm telling you, I respect Campbell. Love the guy. Love his energy. Done a heck of a job of, laying a foundation and building a culture in Detroit. It's an awesome job. What an awesome job he's done when people laughed at him when he was hired. He's been great. But the problem is he's a wild card when it comes to making decisions, and we saw that in the game yesterday. Down by 10 with 12 minutes to go, he goes for the onside kick, and it backfires right in his grill. Dan Campbell's decision-making is going to prove costly once again. It happened in the postseason last year in the NFC title game. He's too much of a wild card. He's too emotional. You should have kicked off yesterday, even though your defense is beat up, and allowed them to try and get the stop because you were right there in a position where you could have come back and won the game. But you go for the onside, and Buffalo scoops it up and returns it down to scoring position. I don't know. Dan Campbell has done a great job, but he's a little bit crazy for my liking when it comes to decision-making. Too emotional, and that can prove costly. All right, we'll keep things rolling here. Brian Noe coming up at 4:20. We'll get a Bo Nix update at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, Rip City Drive. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me from Vegas coming up at 4:20. We'll do the 12 Days at Christmas coming up at 4:45. I just got hit up from Duke, the UPS guy.
Hi, this is Bill Shanley. If you're trying to get a hold of Duke, one of the best UPS guys around, he's not available right now, but he'll get back to you just as soon as he possibly can. Rip City.
Man, that voicemail's so badass from the Shans. So Duke, the UPS driver, he's a big Blazer fan, but he's a Giant fan, and that's unfortunate. He and Travis both are New York Giant fans, and the great thing is if you're a Giant fan right now, it's very simple. They control the number one spot in the NFL draft over the Raiders. Both of them have 2 wins on the year. So it's very simple for New York. Just don't win a game. Lose every single game on the schedule the rest of the way, and you'll get the number one pick in the draft, and you can secure Shedeur Sanders. And they obviously need a quarterback. It's that simple. And Duke said, I've been rooting for them to lose all year. It's emotionally confusing. Yeah, pretty much. It is. It's like being a Blazer fan. Like, you want wins, but you know that maybe the best thing is right now is not wins. It's the same thing with being a Giant fan. Any meaningless win down the stretch would do nothing but cost the franchise. I mean, you literally have to make sure you start the right players to make sure you don't win games. I'm not even joking about that. Because in the NFL, just look at how quickly a great quarterback can turn a franchise around. C.J. Stroud in Houston, Bo Nix in Denver, Jaden Daniels in Washington. If you find the right guy at quarterback, your franchise can be turned around overnight. That's why you have to lose. That's why you cannot win, and you must do whatever it takes to make sure you don't win football games. If the Giants do anything to try and win a football game, they're morons, absolute fools. Not when you have a guy like Shedeur who potentially could be a generational talent. And Shedeur Sanders is awesome. He's awesome. Great quarterback. And I would draft him without question. He is the best quarterback available. You need a quarterback desperately. Lose your games, and you control the first spot in the NFL draft. And then you could celebrate because the hope that would come from having the number one pick, knowing you're going to get a quarterback, would be amazing. After all of the pain through the Daniel Jones experiment, and then you get Shedeur, bingo. It's over. Problem solved. And then it's just a matter of finding the right coach. But I understand what you mean by being a sports fan. It does a lot of it does more harm than good, to be honest. If we're just being real, and I've said this before, but why do we put ourselves through the emotional turmoil of being a sports fan? Because it brings more pain than it does pleasure. Because if you're alive for, 75, 80 years, and you've put in like 60 years of rooting for your team, and you got what, like 2 championships or no championships? That's a lot of years of having your season end with a loss. It's frustrating, very frustrating, especially when you know that you might care more about the team's bottom line than maybe some of the players do. There's a lot of things that come with being a sports fan that's crazy. It's expensive. There's a lot of turmoil emotionally, the ups and the downs, the roller coaster ride. It's rough. But quarterback can change everything. Just look at Denver. They got Bo Nix, and now they're going to make the playoffs for the first time in 10 years. It's wild. All right, I want to hear. Let's take a listen to Denny Avdia. He's my favorite player on the team right now. He's settling into his role, and he is a much more physical player than I thought he was coming over. This guy is tough, physical. He can do a lot of different things on the floor, and you're starting to see that. I think he had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists last night in the loss to Phoenix. But I love his attitude and his approach. Coach trusts him. His teammates appreciate him. And he's just one of those guys that does a little bit of everything, peppers the stat sheet. And I like his mentality. Take a listen to Denny after the game with Brooke Olzendam, just talking about playing harder and getting after it earlier in the game before things go sideways.
Made a nice little push there at the end. What were you guys kind of saying to each other in that fourth quarter?
I feel like we just kept playing hard. I feel like we should have started that earlier. You know, I don't think we should start playing like that when stuff like goes downhill. But it's part of the process of learning, and I feel like I see we're capable, so why not do it earlier? So that's my takeaways. But I like I like our effort, especially when things don't go amazing. I feel like we kept playing, we kept fighting, and it's not over till it's over. So.
Do you have any thoughts on how you guys might go about kind of starting out a little bit faster?
I feel like it's just something you like kind of get experience with. The guys are doing a good job. I feel like sometimes we're a lot in our heads, and I feel like we're a young group, which is normal for a young group to feel like that. But generally, I feel like we got a lot of talent, and it's gonna be better for sure.
Go ahead. Well, Coach was saying he put you at the 5, which you're usually not at. How did that feel?
As I said, like I think I'm very versatile, and whenever coach is gonna need me to do on the court, I will. Obviously I'm trying to make the best out of it, and I kind of screen and roll and make plays for the other guys, and I feel like it was good for us. I'm just gonna keep playing and take advantage of my opportunity.
Other thing Coach mentioned, he felt like he really wants to emphasize guys getting into the paint. He feels like you're the best player on the team at getting into the paint. How do you feel like you've done with that, and particularly the decisions you're making when you're in the paint?
I feel like I can be even better. I don't think I'm kind of like in my comfort zone yet of getting in the paint, but I'm definitely physical. Love to drive, and I know how to use my body. I got to take care of the ball a little bit better, and that's on me. I take the responsibility about it today. I had a lot of turnovers, but other than that, I feel like I'm just going to keep doing it for the guys. So,
Made a nice.
There you go. There's Denny Avia following last night's loss to the Suns. He's everything you want in a basketball player. Unselfish, physical, and he'll do whatever the coach needs him to do if it will help the bottom line. And he does so without hesitation. He's just a special type of guy with his makeup and where he's come from and the way he approaches the game. I'm a big fan of Denny Avia. But that's the type of player that the Blazers are looking for. Young, talented players who can come in and do a lot of different things. He brings size. He can defend. He can handle the rock. He can set up his teammates. He's great at pushing tempo. And he can play multiple positions on the floor. He is a very versatile player. And what I like about him, as well as he's playing and starting to settle into his role, coming off the bench, he's not satisfied with where he's at because he knows he can be better. And the great thing about Denny, like a lot of the guys on the roster, he's young, and so he's got plenty of time to continue to work and get better, and he will. Because guys that work that hard and have the natural, talent that he does, they are going to get better through a product of just continuing to play and work hard. But love him. I mean, if I'm coaching Denny Avia, I would love coaching a guy like that. Because he's not going to complain about anything. He's going to, whatever you ask him to do, he'll do. But I'm very happy the Blazers acquired Denny Avia, and he's quickly becoming one of my favorites, just like his overall attitude and approach. And he brings toughness to the floor, and I love the way he pushes tempo, too. And the coach is like, hey, get out and run. If your teammates join you, that's great. Make a play. If not, it's yours to make. And he does it. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive with Chad doing. Brian Noe is going to talk ball with me at 4:20, and then we'll get a Bo Nix update with Ryan Edwards at 5:20. All right, it's now 4 o'clock. What's going on, my friends? Chad here. We start with your Portland Trailblazers, who dropped a game last night in Phoenix, 116-109. Robert Williams made his return from the concussion protocol. He was 4 of 4. The Blazers will get 3 days off. Denver's in town Thursday night. Tip from Moda at 7. The Blazers now 8-18 on the year. The Detroit Lions took more than just a loss to Buffalo yesterday. Running back David Montgomery done for the season with a knee injury. Defensive tackle Aleem McNeil has a torn ACL. Starting corner Carlton Davis has a fractured jaw. And cornerback Khalil Dorsey suffered an ankle injury. He is done for the year. Going into the game, the Lions had 13 defensive players on IR. Monday Night Football doubleheader at 5 on ABC. Bears at the Vikings. Minnesota favored by 7. They're 11-2. At 5:30 on ESPN, the Falcons are at the Raiders. Atlanta favored by 6.5. Brian Noe will join me from Vegas coming up at 4:20. The first playoff game of the new 12-team format Friday, Indiana at Notre Dame. Irish favored by 7.5. Kickoff at 5 on ABC. All right, Brian Noe, he's going to the Raider game tonight down in Vegas. I think that's his new home for the time being, Las Vegas. He's going to join us coming up at 4:20. That's when you know you love football, is that you're willing to go in person to watch the Falcons and the Raiders. There's no way he paid for those tickets. My prediction is someone hooked him up with the ticks because you're not going to pay for those tickets. There's no way. Why would you do that? First playoff game's coming up on Friday. We get 1 game on Friday, 3 on Saturday, and the first game will be a good one. Indiana at Notre Dame. I'll be live at Spirit Mountain Casino from 3 until 6 with the kickoff to the college football playoff. We'll have prizes to give away. Tito's Vodka is going to have prizes to give away, so come down and join us. You can hang out at Spirit Mountain. The sports book is really nice, Vegas style, and it is a great spot where you can actually bet on college football in Oregon, which is awesome, because you cannot do that through the state of Oregon. But go to Spirit Mountain, and you're dialed in. And you can get down and get ready for the college football playoff, which is going to be nice. I want you to hear this clip, too. Sheila Johnson. Time Magazine named Caitlin Clark their Athlete of the Year. And Sheila Johnson, who I think her and her husband started up the BET Network. She's also owner of the Mystics in the WNBA. She's frustrated with the decision to name Caitlin Clark the Female Athlete of the Year. Take a listen.
So last night we read Time Magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing.
How ridiculous are those statements right there from Miss Johnson? Time Magazine names Caitlin Clark their Female Athlete of the Year, and she wants the entire WNBA to put on the cover instead of Caitlin Clark. You know what's funny? There's a number out there of the Mystics' home attendance this year. I think they had 2 games against Clark. 31% of their attendance was in those 2 games where Clark was in town. And why do you think that is? Well, that's because Caitlin Clark is immensely popular, and people want to pay to see her. And I'll never understand why you can't just celebrate the fact that you have a great basketball player that people are captured by, and they want to watch her. They want to tune in to television to watch Caitlin Clark play. If they're near the area, they want to go and watch her live in person. And she's a tremendous basketball player. There are few like Caitlin Clark. And this is really not about race. This is simply about someone that's got extraordinary talent that people want to check out. But the idea that you have hurt feelings because they've actually singled out one person to be athlete of the year is absurd. This happens across all sports, right? Who do you think is going to win the NFL MVP this year? I think I have a pretty good idea. It's going to be Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills. And he's probably going to be on magazine covers, and he's going to be singled out for his exceptional play. Now, do you think that's going to create hurt feelings because Josh Allen was identified as the most valuable player in the NFL? Well, of course not. They're just singling out a player for his greatness, and Josh Allen is truly a tremendous talent. Same thing in the NBA. Why do people want to go watch Steph Curry? Because he can do things with the basketball we haven't seen before. He's got range and can fill it up like nobody else. Why do you think I went out of my way to watch Michael Jordan when I was younger, and I was willing to pay big prices to go see him at the Coliseum or Moda Center? Because Michael Jordan was doing things I had never seen before. And the reality is for Caitlin Clark is that she is doing things with the basketball as a women's basketball player that we haven't seen before. She's got incredible range. She's got great vision. She was tremendous in college, and she had a phenomenal first year in the WNBA. That's normally someone that you want to celebrate. And what I love about Caitlin Clark and the way she's handled her business this year is that even though she's been targeted by other WNBA vets, they roughed her up, they attacked her, hard fouls, intentional hard fouling, public criticism. She hasn't responded. She hasn't pointed the finger. She hasn't complained. She just suits up and gets ready for the next game. So she's handled herself perfectly. But these women are incredibly jealous of her, and it's crazy to me. Just celebrate the fact that you've got someone that has elevated your league and is bringing attention like never before. And Caitlin Clark, look, all I can tell you about my own experience is that I was tuning into WNBA games this year and looking to watch Caitlin Clark play. I've never had a desire to tune into WNBA games before. And I understand that there are hardcore WNBA fans out there that appreciate multiple players on multiple teams, and you've been following the league for years. And I respect that. But for a lot of people who don't watch, and the numbers would suggest that nobody was watching before she entered into the league, I'm having a reason to tune in because I want to watch her play. And you know what happens when you tune in to watch Caitlin Clark play? You start to notice other players on the floor as well, which is cool. And I also think it's neat that you have two players come in like Clark, like Reese, like Angel Reese, to where you have this natural rivalry that was in college and now it's on the WNBA level. It's great. But these comments, hurt feelings?
So last night we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing.
How can someone so rich and who's accomplished so much like Sheila Johnson come up with a bad take like that? No, it's the female athlete of the year. That's why it's one person. The athlete of the year, Sheila. That's why Caitlin's on the cover. And I'm not sure if you're aware, Sheila, but she's not like everyone else in the WNBA. And it's because of her handle, the way she could shoot the basketball, and how big of a star she was coming out of college. And the fact that she's driving revenue and ratings to all new levels in the WNBA. That's because of her. Not because of the rest of the women in the WNBA. It's her. So she does deserve the recognition and the notoriety, and she is well deserving of the Female Athlete of the Year. It's like, come on, man. Let's not be ridiculous. Hurt feelings? Oh, boy. All right. Whatever. 31% of the Mystics' attendance came from the two games that Caitlin Clark was in town. That's how big she is. And it should be celebrated. And they should embrace her. They should not try to vilify her. Embrace her. What's that saying? A high tide lifts all boats. That means more recognition and more money and more opportunity for everybody. Everybody. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's very good. Crazy. Hurt feelings in professional sports? Hurt feelings? Huh? That's insanity. Absolute insanity. All right. Rip City Drive. Brian Noe going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes. He's getting ready for the Raiders and Falcons. As I mentioned before, the Raiders, it's very simple right now. And just so you know, because this is where things get a little bit tricky at the end of the season, there are a couple of teams. The Raiders at 2-11. The Giants lost yesterday. They got smashed by the Baltimore Ravens. And the Raiders at 2-11, the Giants at 2-12. Those are the only teams in the NFL with just 2 wins. Now, the Giants hold the tiebreak. They hold the tiebreak. So if the Giants lose out, they will get the number 1 pick in the draft, which would mean access to Shedeur Sanders. That's the key. So keep that in mind. Let's go out to the phones, 503-248-0620. Let's go out to Rev, who joins us. Rev, long time no chat. What's up?
Chad, how are you?
Very well, my friend.
Hey, this is Sheila Wilson. I'm glad you played it twice. I had to listen to that over again just to make sure that I didn't mistake what I just heard. If nothing else, she's helping to perpetuate the racism that has affected and impacted Caitlin Clark and her fans ever since she came into the league. There's blatant racism against her. There's a blatant jealousy and resentment against her. That's where it's born from, and it's absurd. Her statement is just ridiculous. It's the WNBA, even with Caitlin Clark, with everything she did this year, still lost $40 million, Chad.
I know.
They don't have a clue. And for her to come out and say that, and that's an owner, here's the thing. I was thinking about this a while back, and it's so common sense, Chad. If the WNBA or some billionaire that wants to start a rival league, if they would just experiment with a 9-6 hoop, okay? Women are 6 to 7 inches shorter than men on average, okay? Volleyball gets it. Men play to a 7-foot, 11-foot net in volleyball. Women play to 7'4". Women play softball on smaller fields, shorter base paths, and a closer pitching rubber. The LPGA plays shorter distance golf courses. Other leagues have figured it out. The reason why women are still playing to a 10-foot hoop today is because back in the 1900s, when they first started playing, all hoops were 10 feet. But now, today, every pro arena, every college arena, every high school and middle school gym have adjustable height rims. If they went to 9'6", the public would get to see women playing athletically above the rim, just like the men do. When you watch SportsCenter and they do their top 10, how many lay-ins do they show from the NBA? No. What brings the fans out of their seats? It's an alley-oop or emphatic fast break dunks. Lay-ins don't get it. Women don't play the same game as men, and that's why they don't get the same attention as men. And it is so stupid. They're so prideful and so stubborn that they don't want to change. It's just absurd. If they would do that, Chad, they would start to get the ratings. They would get more attendance. They would get more notice. And the fans would love it. They would love to see women playing athletically above the rim like the men.
That's actually a good idea. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Rev. Good to hear from you, my friend. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, the WNBA, they need some help, too. They've got such a gift right now with Caitlin Clark, and they've got to find a way to capitalize on it, but they're taking the wrong route. All I can say is that I want to tune in and watch Caitlin Clark. She's awesome. Fun to watch. You know, talent is talent. You know, if there's someone that's special, it brings eyeballs in. We want to check it out. And my mom didn't really care about the NBA when I was growing up, but even she would check out Michael Jordan because he was so special, right? Or Larry Bird, or Shaq because he was so massive. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We got to talk some football next. Brian Noe's going to join us. How vulnerable are the Detroit Lions now with the injuries in the NFC? They looked like a shoo-in for the Super Bowl, but now, through attrition, they might be done. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, coming up next. All right. He just got felt up by security at Allegiant Stadium, and now he joins the Rip City Drive. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. Bino!
What is going on, Chad? Doing? That was perfect timing. I was just sending you a screenshot of us in our skull-like Halloween face paint for the Raiders taking on the Falcons here tonight, buddy.
I love it. I got the picture right now, man. You're looking very Raider-like getting ready for the game tonight. So I was wondering earlier on the show, did you guys actually pay for tickets, or did someone hook you up for the game tonight?
No, we paid. Yeah, that's the thing, Chad. I don't know how you feel about it. Like, I could probably reach out and ask for a credential and just buy the other ticket if I'm, with a friend or my girlfriend or whatever. But I just buy them. You know what I mean? How do you go about it yourself?
Well, normally, if I'm just going to go to a game as a fan, I just buy tickets. And the reason why I do it is very simple, Brian. I never want to lose sight of what it's like to be a fan because I always want that connection because it reminds me of why I got into this in the first place. That's how I handle it. Now, if I'm going to cover a game and I'm not going as a fan, I get a press pass. But that's how I usually roll. I buy tickets.
Yeah, I almost always buy tickets. I don't know if I told you before, but way back when I did the Notre Dame pregame show, and it was really cool because they gave you a press box pass. And this is absolutely the definition of a first world problem. But I hated it. Like, you were in the press box and it's enclosed in glass. You can't hear the crowd. You can't feel the energy or anything. So I would walk up on top of the press box and watch the game. And that's how I went and got down because it just feels completely different. I can't be behind glass for a game. It feels totally different. I'm like a caged animal. I'd rather pay and feel the crowd and be there and enjoy it that way.
I know. I remember the first time I went to a Bronco game as a press member, and I had to sit there watching Peyton Manning go wild, and my leg was twitching because I had to sit there and act like nothing cool was happening. It was really a bizarre feeling.
I know, right? And they'll say it like at Notre Dame, they're like, this is a working environment. No cheering, please. And it's just like, what? We're at a game. Did you just see that play? Are you kidding me? So, yeah, it's different. And, it's funny, too, Chad, because I don't know how you feel about this either, where there are people wearing Packers and Saints jerseys at a Falcons-Raiders game. Like, who are these geeks? Why? I would never wear my Dolphin stuff to a game tonight. It doesn't make any sense at all. I don't get these people.
No, I'm not one of those people. I don't have an issue. If you want to wear a jersey to a game, I think that's cool. But if you wear an opposing jersey to a stadium where two teams are playing and you're wearing a jersey that has no relation to the game whatsoever, you're a complete nerd. It's a loser thing to do. You should not be able to do that. I've seen people do it in college. I've seen people do it in pros. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I feel in a way that they're trying to get attention because they're a fan of another team and they're wearing the jersey to the game. I think it's absurd.
Yeah, I think you're onto something where it's like, hey, I got to rep my Packers. It's like, it doesn't apply to tonight at all. Wear your Reebok T-shirt or whatever, right? Like why? It's not a Packers night. It's not the occasion for it.
Yeah, what are you going to do, show up to like Oregon and Ohio State and wear a Notre Dame jersey? That's dumb.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to wear my Notre Dame gear for the Ducks game, against Tennessee or whatever. But no, it doesn't make any sense to do that.
Now, have you been at a game at Allegiant yet, or is this your first one?
This is my first time.
Oh, nice.
I've never been here before.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love the stadium, man. Great layout, great setup, and I've sat all over the stadium. There's not a bad seat in the house, man. It's a great crib.
Yeah, I'm fired up for it. I got to go to a couple of Raiders games back in Oakland, but this is my first time at Allegiant. And so I'm close to being done, Chad. I saw the Chargers in San Diego. I haven't seen them at SoFi. I've seen the Rams there. So I technically have to go to SoFi to see the Chargers, and then it's just Texans and Jags. That's it. Then I've been everywhere.
Dude, that is so cool that you've been able to cross all the stadiums off, but just for a couple off your list, man. That's great because, the NFL is different than college. It is more of a corporate environment at each game, but still each town, each stadium, it's got its own different vibes, which I think is neat. I like to go and check them out to see what each place has to offer.
Oh, yeah, totally. And it is. It's a different feeling everywhere you go. And you pick up so many things. Like your Broncos, a great example. I would always hear on TV where they'd be like, and I'm like, what the hell are they saying every time? And you know this, right?
Yep.
But it's incomplete, right? Like, and a lot of these stadiums and a lot of these teams have their own thing that you just don't pick up on until you're there. I went to it was the national championship game in Indianapolis a few years ago, college football, between Georgia and Alabama. And you'll notice it, like, watch the playoff when Georgia plays in a couple of weeks. Every kickoff, they just start barking. And I didn't notice that before because, like, for Notre Dame, they'll go like, oh, Irish. You'll notice that, too, on a kickoff. But for Georgia, they do something similar where it's like, oh, and so you'll hear that. It's odd. I love that type of stuff, man. It's so cool.
We're talking with Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, who's at Allegiant Stadium getting ready for the Raiders and Falcons. I want to ask you real quick about Notre Dame. They're the first playoff game. They're taking on Indiana on Friday. How do you feel the Irish match up with Indiana?
They're going to smack them around, Chad. That's how I feel. Listen, put Notre Dame fandom to the side, and I like Notre Dame in this matchup, but IU is more physical. They've been more physical this season than they've ever gotten credit for. They're known for their passing game, and it's a little bit like Oregon. Remember, like the old Chip Kelly days where they were known for bubble screens and the finesse game, but they could line up and smack you around physically. And I see Indiana a little bit along those lines just from this standpoint where they're known for Curtis Rourke and throwing the ball around, but they're a little bit more physical than they're given credit for. With that being said, I still think Notre Dame's going to be able to run the ball. But the thing, their offense is too one-dimensional, where if a team like IU or anybody that they're going to see in the playoff, if they can slow down the running game and just put it on Riley Leonard and make him throw to beat you, Notre Dame is not a great passing team at all. So we'll see if IU, that's job number one, slow down Notre Dame's running attack. If they do that, Chad, they're live. They're live, and I still like Notre Dame to win it. But if you can slow down Jeremiah Love, Riley Leonard, that running game, you've got a puncher's chance to stay in it.
All right, so you've given me a matchup to watch, which is great. I wanted your reaction to Devondre Campbell refusing to go back into the game for the 49ers on Thursday against the Rams. He's been suspended for 3 games.
Yeah, what a jackass, right, Chad? Like, I mean, really, what are you doing? This is the ultimate mean move. Like, what do we hear with football? Football is the ultimate team sport. You can't be me guy in a team sport like football. And yes, you can explain it and say, hey, he was playing 90% of the snaps while Dre Greenlaw was rehabbing his injury, and now Dre Greenlaw, and he was in his feelings and no, dude, there's no explanation whatsoever. And your guy, John Lynch, can you imagine John Lynch on the sideline talking to Devondre Campbell? John Lynch is one of the hardest hitters in NFL history as a safety. And someone just, John, Devondre said he doesn't want to go in the game. Oh, my gosh. I would pay to have seen John Lynch's initial reaction. And I love what the Niners are doing. They're like, listen, you bum, you're suspended for 3 games. You're not getting game checks. We're not trying to pay you while you turn your back on us. You turn your back on us, we turn your back on you. That's how this works. Love that move by the Niners. But that is something that's going to be hard to live down, Chad, where it made such headlines that he's known for that now. And I think he's going to have a hard time getting a gig going forward. This actually happened a couple of weeks ago with Deontay Johnson, who went from he was with Panthers and now he's with the Ravens, but like a week or 2 prior to Devondre, he just refused to go in the game, and the Ravens suspended him for 1 game, and that was it. It was kind of swept under the rug, but I don't know if it was just because it was a standalone game and our attention was on that Niners game hosting the Rams, where it just hit differently, man, but you just can't. You can't say, no, I'm good, I don't want to go in. That's just, it's not going to fly in professional sports. And Devondre Campbell is a great example of this could be the backlash. It might not be Deontay Johnson and shoulder shrug, who cares, not a big story. It could land like Devondre, and now you're branded as the guy who's a me guy and not a team guy.
Boy, I agree with your take, man. It's the ultimate team sport. Hey, when did players start dropping the football before they enter the end zone? We've seen this going on for years now in college and now the NFL. I'm still mind blown at Jonathan Taylor's decision yesterday, but how can you do that? Like, what is up with that, man? It's ridiculous.
It is, dude. It's so crazy. Like, listen, if it's some random college and, okay, you're a kid, all right, maybe you could explain it to me that way, but Jonathan Taylor, he's an upper echelon running back.
Yeah.
He knows way better than to do that. Like, run through the back of the end zone before you drop it. You know, I'm surprised that hasn't been rectified yet. I got bitten by that. Chad, you would love this. Years and years ago, Cal hosting Texas. Vic Inwiri is Cal Bears running back. And he broke this long run. I'm going to win. I'm going to win my second half over. And he dropped the ball right before the end zone. I lost the bet. It wasn't for anything life-changing. And I saw something today with the Jonathan Taylor bet. Some guy bet like $10 to win just under $15,000. And that was the one leg that didn't hit, was Jonathan Taylor dropping the ball like an inch before the goal line. Can you imagine that, Chad? Good Lord.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, the Detroit Lions, they lose to Buffalo yesterday. They're now evened up with the Eagles in the NFC at 11-2. But the problem is they had 13 guys on defense on IR going into the game, and they lost 3 more during the course of the game yesterday. It's weird how the NFL changes, but I'm wondering now if they're going to be too beat up to be able to challenge to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, man, they're still in the mix. There's no doubt about that. And no matter who's on the field, they're going to be a tough out, because I think we can all look at who they're missing, and they're missing a lot of talent. But you got to look at what they still have on the field. And at home, if you have home field advantage, especially, they have more than a puncher's chance to still get there to the Super Bowl. But, man, Chad, their chances are getting hit seemingly every week here. And when you look at who they're missing and what they could be compared to what they are, it's such a different dynamic. And that's why I always say, like, you can't put injuries all in the same category. Yes, we know all teams have suffered injuries, but not all teams have suffered the same injuries or the same amount of injuries. It's not the same impact for every single team. So I just hate that when you're like, hey, look at the Lions' injuries, and someone's like, every team has injuries. Like, spare me the excuses. Like, it's not excuses, man. These are reasons why the Lions might not get there. And, yeah, their chances have been hurt. They absolutely have more than a puncher's chance to still get to the Super Bowl. But we can't, like, lie to anybody and say, oh, no, unaffected. You know, Aiden Hutchinson, David Montgomery, Carlton Davis, the list goes on. No, just the same as they would have been. No, they're not. They're completely different, but still a tough out. Still a tough out come playoff time.
All right. Are you guys sitting in the black hole tonight or what?
No, I don't know. I didn't see, like, the black hole section, you know, on these sites, you know, like StubHub or SeatGeek or whatever you go with. I didn't see that. I don't know if that's a premium section there, Chad. They should have they should have that as a separate section, don't you think?
I think so. I just can't wait to see you and your lady hanging out with Raider fans, man. It's going to get crazy tonight for you, Bino. Be safe.
What do you think, Chad? Do you think that, like, every Raider fan that high-fives me, because I'm basically wearing Raider-like gear, you know, should I say, actually, I need T.J. Hawkinson over 40.5 receiving yards? Should I tell him that, or just lean into it with the high fives?
Lean into it with the high fives, because if you do anything outside of support the Raiders, they might put an elbow in your ear. So be careful out there, man. Just support the Raiders. High fives all around.
By the way, Chad, have you've seen the Raiders in person, right?
Yes.
You've seen them before?
Yes.
Yeah. You probably know this, too, and I love this, man. You'll hear this 10,000 times any Raider game you go to. it's just a chant of Raiders. I love it. Like, if you don't go to the games, you don't know that.
No, it's great. I remember the first time I went to a Raider game, I got off BART there in Oakland to cross over to go to the Coliseum, and a guy right in front of me as I'm going up the stairs, he had a Stabler jersey on and a big fifth of wild turkey in his back pocket. And I was like, yeah, welcome to Raiders, man. This is Raiders football right here. I was like, wow, this guy's ready to roll. So hardcore.
Yeah, you just drink it in, you know?
Yeah.
And like certain places you go to KC and you just kind of smell the barbecue or something.
Yep.
You go see the Raiders and it's just like Halloween.
Yes.
It's not even close to October 31st. It's just Halloween, baby. You can feel it right to your core, you know?
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Well, have fun tonight, dude. It's great to catch up with you, and I can't wait to see some of the pictures from the game.
All right, man. Always good being with you, Chad Doing.
All right.
Enjoy the ball tonight, and I'll catch you soon, man.
There you go. Bino down in Vegas getting ready for the Raiders and Falcons tonight. Bino! Yeah, I've been to a few Raider games. When I was living down in the Bay Area, went to a ton of Raider games there at the Coliseum. And the Black Hole was a different environment. And that was one of those places where I was quite happy being up at the press box. I felt a little bit safer up there. But Bino's right. It's really weird to go to a game, especially if it's one of your teams playing. You're sitting in press row. Like, you can't react. You have to just act like something awesome could happen, and you have to sit there like it's no big deal. It's the most unnatural feeling you can imagine, because normally at a sporting event, it's the one place where we can let loose and celebrate. I scared the daylights out of the captain, Rich Patterson, yesterday on that pick six by Nick Benito because I was watching the game, getting ready for the Trailblazer pregame show, and that pick six happened just a few minutes before we were going to go on air. But I put my hands up there. I was like, woo! And I just let that out, and I scared Rich. He was not expecting that. But I wasn't expecting a sweet pick six to come off of a double pass on a very dumb play by the Colts. But what I learned about the Colts yesterday is they're a dumb football team, starting with Jonathan Taylor. Just get in the end zone and then do whatever you want. But he was so focused on the celebration that he let go of the football before he broke the plane. And I'm thankful he did that because he won the game for Denver. He was the Broncos MVP yesterday, Jonathan Taylor. So thank you for your efforts. It's really weird to have a Monday Night Football doubleheader. We got the Bears and Vikings, and then the Raiders and the Falcons, both taking place tonight. One on ESPN, one on ABC. So we got plenty of action. The Broncos and Chargers will square off in L.A. coming up on Thursday. And the battle for the sixth spot in the AFC, and the Chargers got whacked yesterday, 40-17 by the Buccaneers. All right, we'll come back. We'll do a little 12 Days of Christmas with the Trailblazers. We got to see if we can win a prize. And I encourage you to join me on that. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. This is pretty amazing. I didn't know this number, but the list of biggest sports betting upsets ever, according to Vegas Insider, Miracle on Ice is number 2 at plus 100,000. Leicester City at plus 500,000 was number 1. The 2011 St. Louis Cardinals at plus 99,900. The 99 St. Louis Rams at plus 30,000. The 2004 Red Sox at plus 12,000. And the ASU Sun Devils from this year plus 10,000 to win the Big 12 championship. That is crazy. Did not know that. Wow. That's pretty crazy. Miracle on Ice, plus 100,000, number 2 on the list. All right, we do it each and every day for the next 12 days. Let's get to our 12 days of Christmas with the Portland Trailblazers.
You better watch out. You better not cry. Better not pout. I'm telling you why. Because it's time for the Trailblazers 12 Days of Christmas on the Rip City Drive with Chad Dewing.
All right, if you go to trailblazers.com/12 days, they've got the 12 days of Rip City. 12 days, 12 prizes, 12 chances to win. And each day brings a new prize. So you can enter daily for your chance to win Blazers swag, premium tickets, and they're even going to have a round trip flight. Today is the 8th day of 12 days of Rip City. Yesterday, I entered to win a pair of club level tickets for the Cleveland Cavaliers later in the season, which is also going to be Blazers Edge Night, which is pretty sweet. So if you go there to trailblazers.com/12 days, click on the number 8 where it says enter now. And this is pretty sweet. But today's giveaway is a 2024-25 autographed team ball. You just simply put in your name, your email, and then click on I agree with the official rules. And then hit enter now for your chance to win an autographed team basketball. And there you go. It's that simple. And you do it each and every day, all throughout the 12 days of Rip City. As the Portland Trailblazers celebrate Christmas, I still have not won. I don't know if they're going to prevent me from winning or not, but I'm trying to get the job done. I'm trying to find a way to get over and win a prize, even though I work for the team and I work for 620 Rip City Radio. All right, there you go. The 12 days of Rip City here on the Rip City Drive with Chad Dewing. All right, so Brian Noe down in Vegas getting ready for the game tonight. Big thanks to him for joining the show. At 5:20, we'll get a Bo Nix update with Ryan Edwards, my friend from 850 KOA in Denver. Really excited about what the Broncos are doing right now with Bo Nix. 9-5, 4 straight wins, and now 1 win away from securing a playoff berth for the first time since 2015 when they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. So really excited. And elsewhere, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't know how they're doing it, but even with the turmoil that exists with this team, they're finding a way to get it done with arguably the most talented roster in football. And they're getting good play from Jalen Hurts, but they're running the football with Saquon Barkley, and they've got great balance on offense. Good defense, great balance on offense. The Eagles now evened up with the Lions, who are beat up, badly beat up, atop the NFC. And right now in the AFC, Kansas City continues to lead the way, but Buffalo is charging hard. Baltimore is coming off a big-time win over the Giants. Very similar to a bye week when you play the Giants right now. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions for Lamar Jackson. And I believe that Josh Allen's going to win the MVP, but Lamar Jackson is having an MVP season. And if he won the award, he'd be deserving as well. He's been terrific, sensational. Other things that surprised me yesterday, how about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into L.A. and just hammering the Chargers?
Shotgun look to pass. Mayfield looking, throws the ball downfield toward Evans. He makes the catch. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Buccaneers with Mike Evans. 2 catches in the promised land today. What a throw by Mayfield on 3rd down, a dozen.
Mayfield had a big game yesterday. You know, the Buccaneers are impressive right now because, one, they're playing really good defense. And Todd Bowles is a very quiet man, but a very good defensive coordinator. He's got them playing good defense. Their offensive line is playing well. They're running the football. They've got balance, and Baker Mayfield is feeling comfortable. He's confident, and he's got them playing well. And Mike Evans is a stud. So the Buccaneers now looking like a major threat because they're going to win their division, the NFC South. And on top of that, they'll get a home playoff game. They are a dangerous football team right now. I just like the way they're playing. And props to Baker Mayfield. I love seeing these redemption stories like Sam Darnold in Minnesota, Baker Mayfield with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love seeing guys who are washed out in other locations, mostly because they wound up with a bad franchise. And then they go through the process of, kind of reshaping their image, getting a chance to play for, a coach that knows what the heck's going on. Like Baker Mayfield spent time with Sean McVay and the Rams, and he cashed in on an opportunity with the Bucs, and now he's playing winning football. And Baker Mayfield has matured as a young man. He handles himself the right way, and he plays the game. He's tough, and I think his teammates respect the heck out of him for the way he plays. But I'll tell you one thing about the Chargers. They're still a year or two away. Jim Harbaugh has already turned that ship around big time, but he needs more time to get his type of players in there. And they were unable to run the football yesterday. And if they can't run the football, they're in big trouble because part of their success is being able to run the football, control the clock, and then play their style of ball. And they couldn't run the football yesterday. They got behind, and then they were in a trouble spot. And, their pass protection is not great. Herbert's working with some younger players, playmakers on the outside. And, they're still learning and battling and discovering how to be a winning football team. But they're light years ahead of where they were last year because of Jim Harbaugh. They just need more time to get more of the players that they need to be able to shape out that roster. Now, this game coming up on Thursday is going to be huge. Broncos, Chargers. Chargers won the first game in Denver, and now the Broncos going to L.A., and this game will be the battle for the 6th spot in the AFC. So whoever wins that game on Thursday is more than likely going to be the 6th seed. So that's going to be a big game. But really impressed with Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucs. Todd Bowles doing a heck of a job there. Very good job. Also, how about the play of Aaron Rodgers yesterday?
Rodgers back to throw. Well protected. Fires one up the seam for Adams. He's got him in stride at the 30, at the 20, 10, 5, spins, end zone, touchdown. That's a Jet touchdown. Davante Adams streaks down the middle, and Aaron Rodgers puts it right in his hands, and the Jets have the lead.
Aaron Rodgers was on fire yesterday. He was putting the ball on time, on target, and it just looked easy for him. And the one thing I'm realizing with Aaron, now that he's getting more time under his belt, coming off the Achilles injury, his arm looked live yesterday, and he played good football. And I know that I guess what I want for Aaron is, the first year back coming off a major injury like that's always going to be the toughest. I think he needs to finish out the year and then go through a normal process of workouts and getting ready for another season. I don't know if the Jets want to keep him for another year, but I think they should bring him back for another year. Another year where he'll have a chance to come in at full speed. Not coming off an injury, but coming off a full season of football where he's been able to shake off some of the rust and see if you can, kind of regroup after a very difficult season. And if the Jets decide to move on from Rodgers, if he can find the right spot with the right opportunity and the right staff around him, I think he should come back. Because you don't want to end your career, or at least I wouldn't want to end my career with a season like this, because I think he can still play. And the great thing about the NFL, if you're Aaron Rodgers, there's still a lot of teams that need quarterback. They need a quarterback who can play. Quarterback plays everything. And if you don't have a quarterback right now, you ain't got nothing. That's why I'm telling you, if you're the Giants, lose every game. Don't be stupid. Just do whatever it takes to lose out, and then you'll have access to Shedeur Sanders. But quarterback play is critical. I think Aaron Rodgers has got a little bit more left in the tank, and I know he was playing the Jags yesterday, and they're terrible, but the ball was coming out on time. It was on target, and he looked fresh, which is cool. And I think when you come off a major injury like an Achilles, it's going to take you some time to, get your feel for the game. He missed an entire year of football at this stage in his career. So I'd go into the offseason, continue the normal work, and get ready for another season. But we'll wait and see what the Jets decide to do. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Bino. Fox Sports Radio joined us at 4:20. You can podcast the show on the iHeartRadio app. We'll talk with Ryan Edwards at 5:20. Get a Bo Nix update. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, what's up, my friends? We have a Monday Night Football doubleheader, which is pretty awesome. It kicks off here in a couple of moments on ABC. The Bears at the Vikings. Minnesota is favored by 7 at 5:30 on ESPN. The Falcons at the Raiders. Atlanta favored by 6.5. Elsewhere, the 49ers have suspended linebacker Devondre Campbell for 3 games for refusing to enter Thursday's game against the Rams. The first playoff game of the new 12-team format's coming up on Friday. Indiana at Notre Dame. The Irish are favored by 7.5. Kickoff at 5 on ABC and ESPN. I'll be live for the kickoff to the college football playoff from Spirit Mountain Casino from 3 until 6. You can join me. We'll have prizes to give away, as will Tito's Vodka. And we'll be hanging out in the spot to watch and wager on college football. Trailblazers back in action on Thursday. They get 3 days off after last night's loss in Phoenix. The Denver Nuggets will be in town. Tip-off from Moda at 7. All right, Monday Night Football is getting ready to kick off, and it's just underway now. Bears and Vikings from Minnesota. And looking forward to this one. You got the Raiders and Falcons coming up at 5:30. Not really looking forward to that one, although the Raiders trying to keep pace with the Giants for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. We'll talk Broncos and Bo Nix coming up at 5:20 with Ryan Edwards. You know, I had mentioned earlier how Kenny Dillingham's doing a heck of a job of managing the portal right now because college football, the entire system's jacked up. So what Coach Dillingham's doing at ASU is if a player wants to enter the portal, he's allowed to do so. And if he wants to continue to participate with the team and play in the playoff, they can do so as long after they enter the portal that they continue to adhere to all the team rules and show up, you know, for their functions and practice and work out and do all the things you're expected to do as a player. You can still participate with the team and be in the portal. Now, if you want to leave because you need to leave now to make the decision that's best for you, you need to go talk to some schools and you feel like you need to move to get on campus and assimilate yourself quickly, then he'll do that with and give you a blessing. So he's found a way to work with a system that's a complete mess. But my biggest problem right now, look, I'm in favor of the transfer portal. I'm in favor of NIL. I'm in favor of the players finally having power to be able to control their future and have a chance to, you know, capitalize off of their name, image, and likeness and what they bring to the NCAA and their institution with all the money that college football is bringing in, which is a large sum. So I'm all about the players being in the position they're in. I think it's great. The NCAA screwed them for decades, and because of their unwillingness to change and adapt, they got screwed in the courts. And this is why we find ourselves in the wild, wild west. But they've got to do something with the transfer portal, and I don't know what the answer is. So if you have an answer on how to solve the portal issue, I would love to hear from you at 503-248-0620. What you have right now is that you've got the portal, which opens up right after the regular season is over. So you've got a lot of teams whose seasons are over. You've got a number of teams who are going to be competing in bowl games. But you've got this transfer calendar, which is based upon the university's academic calendar, which vary based on the school and whether they operate on a semester or a quarter system. See, the players need time to be recruited. They've got to have time to make a decision. And then most importantly, they've got to be admitted before the start of classes because of spring ball. That means that they can't wait until the end of the year in most cases. They've got to apply. They've got to be admitted so that they can be available to participate in spring ball with their new school. And so that's the big issue. So what is the answer there? I mean, clearly they should not be opening up the portal until the final bowl game or playoff game or championship game is played. That would be ideal. But the problem is the final game, the championship game, which is on January 20th this year, that's well after the time that you need to be applied and admitted to your new school to make sure you're available for spring ball. So the question is, how do you solve that issue? Because if you were to take the portal and move back the time which you can open it, then it would prevent the mess that we're seeing right now. Like Marshall had to cancel their bowl game because they didn't have enough players to field the team because so many guys jumped into the portal. So you've got to move the portal time back. But the problem is, how do you make that happen when you've got to get these kids who don't have a lot of time and they've got to get to their new school and get admitted so they can be available for spring ball? So is the answer to move back the start of spring ball? Would that be a possibility? I don't know what the perfect answer is. And the reality is it's probably going to take a little more time to sort through the wild, wild west before they come up with some answers. And really what I think is going to be very helpful would be, if you can eventually have a college football commissioner, someone that can be fully in charge to be able to make decisions that still put the players in a position to have freedom to be able to profit off NIL and have the freedom of movement to jump in the portal and go to different schools. But they need some guidance and leadership. And they don't have that right now because the NCAA is a pathetic institution that can't get things done, that hasn't gotten things done, and moves at a snail's pace. And that's just not the way you get things done. So I'm hoping eventually we can have a college football commissioner who can be in charge, who can work with the different conferences and get people on the same page and in agreement so that they can come to some solutions to the current problems. The portal's great, but the portal being open up before the end of the bowl games is a problem. Players are transferring, players aren't committed, players who are a part of a playoff team but know that they're going to have a better opportunity elsewhere. They can't stay committed to their team because coaches on these other teams that are recruiting players in the portal, they need to make a decision on different spots on their roster. You can see the mess and where we're at with that. It's a major problem. So I don't know exactly what the answer is, but they've got to move back that date. That's the issue. That's the issue because you're putting players in a bad spot. You're putting teams in a bad spot. And you're putting these coaches in a bad spot. So there you go. Now, for the playoff, Friday's the first game. It's Indiana at Notre Dame. Irish are a 7.5-point favorite. There's a lot of people who like Indiana to win this game. Brian Noe made a very good point. Keep an eye on the Irish running game. The Irish are very dependent upon the run. So if Indiana is able to jump out to a lead, it could be very difficult for the Irish to get back into the mix. So something to keep in mind as we watch this game on Friday, and then we'll kick into Saturday. I'll be live at Spirit Mountain for the kickoff to the college football playoff on Friday from 3 until 6, so you can come down and hang out, kick off your weekend down at Spirit Mountain, and check out the first game, Indiana and Notre Dame. It's going to be awesome. Love the college football playoff. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. It's going to be terrific. Now, with college football, there's been a lot of great stories this year. Indiana would be one of those. The Hoosiers were 3-9 last year. This year, 11-1, only one loss at Ohio State under Coach Cignetti, who's done a great job, and they're in the playoff. One of the best stories in college football. Arizona State, back-to-back 3-win seasons, sanctions, ruined by Herm Edwards and his crew, and now they're Big 12 champs and in the playoff in Kenny Dillingham's second year, who, by the way, is the youngest coach in college football, and he's back at his alma mater. He grew up in the Valley, and he's having a chance to lead his team that he grew up with to greatness. So ASU, one of the best stories in college football. Army won a conference title, was in the playoff discussion throughout the course of the year. Their quarterback had Heisman hopes. Army was a great, great story this year. They played great football. They only lost 2 games, Navy and Notre Dame. Boise State getting a bye in the playoff behind the nation's best running back, Ashton Jeanty, great story. And, of course, the Oregon Ducks, the only unbeaten team in the FBS, going from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel. It was a seamless transition, and they never missed a beat. And then I think you got to look at Colorado. I know a lot of you aren't big fans of Coach Prime and the way he rolls, but I can say this about Coach Prime. He's the same guy today that he was coming up through the NFL when he was a player. He does it with style. He does it his way. And he's having great success as a coach. When he took over 2 years ago, Colorado was coming off a 1-win season. They were by far the worst team in college football, and every loss that year was by an average of 29 points. The cupboard was bare. They didn't have talent, so he came in and he overhauled the roster with the transfer portal, and he brought his son, Shedeur Sanders, his son, Shiloh Sanders, and Travis Hunter. And the first year was rocky as they were making their adjustments and getting the type of talent they needed. They tinkered with the coaching staff, and they continued to add talent. And look at what you have this year. A team that missed out on the Big 12 title game based on tie breaks, but they get to 9 wins. They're going to play BYU in the Alamo Bowl, and they've got a quarterback who will be the first guy taken in the draft this year or next year in the upcoming NFL draft, and you've got a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, that's pretty remarkable in just a span of 2 years. Truly remarkable. And Travis Hunter is a good young man, and I thought he handled himself extremely well when he was awarded the Heisman Trophy. Very close between him and Ashton Jeanty. And for a player like that to go both ways and play full-time, both at corner and receiver, was impressive. But he gave a lot of love to Coach Prime and Shedeur.
I want to thank Coach Prime, Shedeur. Man, y'all changed my life forever. That one simple phone call, Shedeur, look where I'm at. Man, that's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I'm trying not to get emotional because I know our last game coming up soon. But I'm thankful for both of y'all. Coach Prime, I'm going to whoop you on that lake tomorrow or whenever we get the chance. But thank you, man. You changed my life forever. I told you that multiple times.
See, that's cool to hear because Coach Prime, you know, a lot of people thought he would just bail on Colorado after his kids were done playing there, Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis. But he's going to continue to coach. And that's a program that is great for Coach Prime because they give him the blank canvas. He can be whatever he wants to be, can run the program the way he wants, and it's got his personality written all over it. And there's not a lot of schools in the country that would give him the freedom to do it the way he wants to do it. So it's great for Coach Prime because he can truly be himself at Colorado, and he's completely changed the entire program around, which is great. But Coach Prime sees himself as a mentor to young men, and that's why college football is a great fit for him. It's what he loves to do. He believes it's his calling. Also, Travis Hunter giving love to Lil Wayne, which is funny.
Wayne, now, I didn't know none of your songs until she let me know, because I don't listen to music. She let me know. She told me, you got to listen to this. If you don't listen to music, listen to Wayne. And from that day on, that's all I listen to, pregame music. That's the song. Those are the songs I listen to. When I get in that TRX and I blast that music, I'm listening to Wayne. It's crazy. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot hut. That's my song. I'm telling you, man, that junk's crazy. I respect you for coming out here, coming to support me, man.
Yeah, he handled himself well. Props to Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward. Cam Scattaboo came in 5th, and he was named first-team All-American today by the AP, which is cool. But a lot of great individual stories in college football this year. All right, we'll come back. We got to focus in on Bo Nix. The Broncos make it 4 straight, and they're 1 win away from the postseason. We'll get the latest on this matchup coming up with Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Thursday Night Football is going to be good. 2 ex-Ducks going head-to-head in Bo Nix and Justin Herbert. Thursday Night Football on Prime.
The Rip City Drive presents the Bo Nix Update.
Play fake for Nix on 3rd and 2. Loads it up. He's got a home run ball. It is there. Touchdown, Denver. Cortland Sutton. What a call. What a throw.
Here on 620 Rip City Radio.
This is going to be a double pass. They throw it, complete it, throw it back to Richardson. It's going to be intercepted. Intercepted Nick Bonito. Bonito to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver. 50 yards on the pick six.
Yeah, what a bizarre game that was. Joining us now to talk about the Broncos is Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA. You can follow him on social at redwardsradio.com. Ryan, it's great to have you back on, buddy. How weird was that game yesterday?
Yeah, it was very weird. I mean, even that play right there was I don't know. Like, there's moments, especially right out of halftime when Bo Nix threw his third interception, and then we thought Jonathan Taylor had taken it in from 41 yards out, that it just didn't look like it was going to be their day. They came in off of the bye, and I don't know, man. They just you sort of think, hey, all the things that could go wrong in a game that you ostensibly needed to have. I know the Colts needed to have it too, but you're at home and you think that the Broncos would show up and play like a team that's trying to march into the postseason on a bit of a run. Instead, they looked, I don't know, like just flat or didn't look like they had it that day. And the Colts were, I mean, they were taking it to them. And suddenly you have Jonathan Taylor fumbling the ball at the goal line, and the Broncos went on a 24-0 run after that. So it was a weird game, but, you know, in the end, as we often say, it's difficult to win in the NFL, and the Broncos found a way, and I guess that's what we take away from it.
All right. Somebody need help on. You know, the Broncos have been unable to run the football pretty much throughout the entire year. Maybe the game at New Orleans, they were able to get going on the ground, but it's been a struggle for them. What I don't understand, Ryan, is that they've got capable backs, and their offensive line is got continuity, and it's one of the highest-rated offensive lines in football. Why can't they find a way to get the ground game going? What's up with that?
That's $1 million question, man. You've got me. Honestly, you're taking on the Colts defense, which was the second worst run defense in the NFL. This felt like coming out of the bye week, and you'd have an intention there, right? You'd have some opportunities, some designs to be more successful, but the Colts, they came into it. They seemed like they were winning the trenches battle, and the Broncos offensive line was just not getting any push. You had, like, your longest run was Bo Nix with a 16-yarder, and that was on the first drive of the game. And it was just one of those things. Like, I mean, I appreciate that the offense pivots eventually to saying, hey, it's just not working. We're going to, go back to the pass. But they had a ton of 3-and-outs yesterday. And, again, I don't tend to subscribe to, hey, you got to be able to show everybody that you can be one of the better running teams in the league in every single game. If it's not working, it's not working. Find a way to pivot and do what you got to do to win that game. But the fact remains, if you want to be one of the teams that is taken seriously in the postseason, you got to find a way to have that part of your offensive production, and they just don't have it. And sometimes it doesn't even seem like they have an interest for it either. So I don't really know what to say. We had a long conversation. It could be all of it. But you said it. You have capable running backs. You should be much better than you are.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. We're talking with Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA in Denver. The Broncos have won 4 straight. They're at 9-5, 1 win away from securing a postseason spot. So Bo Nix, I guess the best thing I can say about him, Ryan, is that going into the year, I thought, okay, rookie quarterback, you're going to run the football, you'll lean on the run game and ask him to slowly progress and eventually, make some plays downfield. But that hasn't been the case. It's like they're going to him saying, okay, it's up to you. And he's finding ways to get things done. He's had some turnover issues the last couple of games, but, Bo Nix as a rookie he appears to be handling the pressure of what he's in right now with youth around him pretty well. What's your take on it?
No, I think that's exactly right. I mean, even after the third interception, and that is frustrating to see, and especially the way those interceptions were happening. There's some miscommunication or something. He's just not seeing whatever they were doing out there. And there was a couple of moments, obviously, against the Browns as well. But, there's something about his steadiness and his approach to it that I think is very – it really connects with these guys. And Sean Payton talked about it in his press conference today. He just said, hey, these guys really respond to his energy and that he doesn't flinch. And I think that's so significant, right? Because I think the guys can all see when a quarterback is rattled. I think you can see it when anybody really is rattled, but especially your quarterback, your captain. If he's going out there looking like, man, I'm just not seeing the field very well, and maybe I'm taking a few hits, and and all of a sudden the game is not slowing down. The rest of the guys respond, really both sides of the ball. But it's been the opposite so far with Bo Nix, and you saw that. I mean, he still threw for 3 touchdowns. I mean, the highlight, what everybody will talk about, is the interceptions, only because he had a long stretch in there where he wasn't putting the ball at risk. Now you've had back-to-back games where he had 5 interceptions, but guess what? They won both those games, and they won them decisively. So I'd say that, yes, you want to clean that up, but the fact is he's still having a similar approach, whether they're winning, whether they're losing, and I think that's infectious for the team.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see the steadiness. We even saw it during the game yesterday. I was watching him closely to see how he responded, and it didn't really seem to shake him up. Now, Patrick Surtain left with an ankle injury, but from what I read today, it sounds like he was a participant. Is he on track to play Thursday?
It looks like it. Yeah, the full participant was good. I got the sense that he is that it was a minor ankle injury. Ian Rappaport said it as well. Last night he was seen leaving the locker room without a limp. So that is significant because I don't think Riley Moss is going to play this week. I mean, we'll see what the practice report says tomorrow and into Wednesday, but my guess is that he's more targeting next week against the Bengals. But, boy, it would have been significant to say if you didn't have Pat Surtain and Riley Moss coming up in another pivotal game, and every single one of these are really pivotal. I mean, the Broncos are 91% to make the postseason, but that is by no means a sure thing. If you lose out, you definitely put yourself at risk of not making the postseason. And even then, you'd like to do better than the 7th seed, and they can do that. They absolutely have several opportunities in front of them to do that. So I think that for the Broncos right now, hey, if you win this game, you more or less guarantee yourself the 6th seed or better. If you lose this game, that all still plays into a fact. And, of course, the Chargers are absolutely going to have the tiebreaker on you then. So I'd say right now the mindset is you continue to just kind of keep stacking wins and hopefully, again, that you're going to remain healthy going into the postseason.
Well, you're right. And the 6th seed, I mean, based on the way it's lined up right now, that means you could be playing Pittsburgh instead of Buffalo or maybe Baltimore potentially as a 6th seed. Like, that's a big deal.
That is a huge deal. And, I mean, anybody with eyes watching football can see, both of those are very talented teams, but you feel like Pittsburgh would be the team that you feel a little bit better about facing instead of the Baltimore Ravens, who absolutely took it to you when you played them just recently. So if you got an option, and by the way, that division is not sewn up yet either.
Yeah.
As we sit here today, those two teams play each other on Saturday, so there's still a lot to play for. But man, it is one of those deals where, yeah, from a matchup standpoint, because we get a chance to talk about that now. From a matchup standpoint, you'd probably prefer to play the Steelers, so you're kind of hoping the Steelers can close out the AFC North, so at least that's a chance.
Yeah, because Buffalo, if you have to go to Buffalo, that just seems. I mean, that seems almost impossible just because they're so explosive right now. But with Bo Nix, is he where you thought he would be at this stage of the season, or has he exceeded expectation? Where are you at on that?
I'd say we can comfortably say exceeded. I mean, it's an interesting question, right? Because you think about it in terms of what we thought with 61 games started in college. What will that buy you as far as a player at the pro level? And you started at the first couple of games, and it's like, okay, well, this is going to take a little bit of time. Maybe we got too far ahead of ourselves on that. And then you fast forward to here, and you're saying, okay, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and they're 9-5 team. Yeah, it's weird that the expectations have kind of shifted constantly, to be honest. Like, I mean, today I say, yeah, exceeded, but coming into it, after watching the preseason, I'm like, oh, this guy's going to hit the ground running. I'm pretty excited about what he's going to be able to do. And then it was shaky, and so I lowered my expectations almost immediately. So it's a fascinating point. I'd say it's probably different even for a lot of people who watch the Broncos or watch NFL football. I think a lot of people would view it in a different prism. That's a good question, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. And boy, I tell you what, Nick Benito is playing out of his mind. Has he got a legit shot to win Defensive Player of the Year?
I think so. At least he'll be in the conversation. I think he probably has to finish the season leading the league in sacks, which again, he's right in line. He has a chance to do that. You got a couple more primetime games, which I think could help his candidacy if he continues to put up these just unbelievable highlight plays, right? He's not going to have a pick six or a fumble return for a touchdown every single game. That would be pretty awesome, though. Just saying. But if he continues to put up highlight reels in primetime games and from a national audience, I think he can put himself in the conversation, especially because T.J. Watt's a little banged up. He was the betting favorite coming into this week. But Pat Surtain is actually second on the list, and he got an interception this last week. And I actually even put up a poll question for Broncos fans on Twitter, and 60% right now said Nick Bonitto should win it over Pat Surtain. But I think because Pat is more the household name, I do think that there's something to that. If you're a household name, you're already coming into this with expectations. He's going to expected to play coming up this week, finish out the season. Maybe he gets another couple interceptions. I think Pat Surtain, maybe he closes this thing out, and almost as a result of his greatness, maybe Nick Bonitto doesn't get as much run in that respect. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to follow here, but I think if Nick Bonitto somehow finishes the season with the sack lead, and maybe he does some other, more highlight play kind of moments, maybe there's something there.
You know, T.J. Watt's pretty awesome, too. I still can't believe, he's the all-time leader in the franchise, Pittsburgh, in sacks, and that's pretty amazing when you think about some of the players they've had over the years. That's wild to me.
Yes. Oh, absolutely, man. And so, yeah, I think that, the way the Broncos are set up right now, I think that there was a lot of household names on that defensive side of the ball, especially, except for Pat Surtain. And so now you're starting to enter that conversation for a lot of these guys, but it usually takes a year or so for that to really take hold.
All right, Ryan, I wanted to ask you about Colorado. I know you're a Colorado State grad, but I'm just I'm not sure that I think there's people that they either love Coach Prime or they dislike him a great deal because of, I think, his style. But, man, 2 years after taking over the worst program in college football, to now have them at 9 wins and to have 2 players that are going to be taken in the top 5 and a Heisman Trophy winner, it's pretty remarkable what he's pulled off there, isn't it?
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, and again, things like you knew Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders were super talented, and they could be good. But again, coming from Jackson State to a Power 5 team, you just never really know what that's going to look like. And even then, I'd say there were questions coming into this year about Coach Prime's acumen and whether he was even a good coach. Like you're saying, hey, he's a great recruiter. Certainly an incredible showman, right? I mean, you think about just the Prime effect and what that's done for the local economy. I mean, those are all great things, but it doesn't make you a great coach. I thought he grew leaps and bounds even as a coach at Colorado. So it's the whole package, the fact that they were able to put all this together, and now everybody's kind of waiting to see if he's going to stick around. I mean, that's kind of the big question now. Is okay, we got this bowl game coming up on the 28th. Against BYU, and what's going to happen after that? I mean, they look like they got a pretty good recruiting class coming in. I mean, you should, after having the Heisman and having the bounce-back season that they did. You're going to have 2 guys, I guess, theoretically drafted in the top 5 of the NFL draft. That's going to help you as well. But what's important to him? At this point, did he accomplish the thing you wanted to accomplish? Does he have more that he wants to accomplish here at Colorado? Does he want to go somewhere else and accomplish it? Or does he want to just more or less retire and watch his sons play in the NFL? There's a lot of questions that are going to be coming up over the next few weeks. But, man, we can't be more grateful here in Colorado and what he's done to put not only that university but Colorado football on the map. All
right, I've got 2 more questions for you. This one in regards to college football. Because you're surrounded by smart people. I just want to know if anyone's come up with a solution. You got the issue with the portal, and I love the portal, and I love that players have freedom of movement, but right now it opens up as soon as the regular season's over, and it's really taken away from bowl games and, these teams that are in the playoff because these kids, if they're going to move, they've got to pick their schools quickly so they can get enrolled in time to be available for spring ball. So how are they going to solve that? Is there a solution to that?
It's such a good question, and you sort of feel a little bit for the process because I can't blame some of these kids for feeling like, they almost you almost have to do this, right? It's part of the game now, and so maybe you're like, okay, because I saw the Penn State backup to Drew Aller is he entered the portal, and you're like, well, wait a minute, Penn State is playing in the college football playoff, like. What are you doing here? But at the same time, you're like, hey, I got to strike while the iron's hot. I got to get into the portal to maybe get a shot at some of this NIL money. And if I don't do it now, then other players are going to jump in before me, and maybe that opportunity goes away.
Yeah.
And so it's a weird system set up, and I've long been a proponent, and I'm sure you are as well as a lot of people say, hey, college athletes need to get paid. I mean, they need to be able to get some of this money because it's a big business, college football, college athletics, and they've long been not given that opportunity. But on the other side of it, we're in the process of growth, and it's the Wild West right now. I don't have a solution other than maybe to say you move the transfer portal dates. You just say, hey, we're not doing any of this until after the bowl season, after the college football playoff. But once again, it doesn't mean that conversations aren't happening behind the scenes. It doesn't mean that people aren't putting, the chess pieces in place. And if that's the case, then there maybe none of it matters at all. So I don't know what the response is. I feel like from a market standpoint, eventually this thing will correct itself. But I have no idea what it's going to look like when it does.
All right, final thought. I'm happy that the Broncos and Chargers got flexed into prime time. I think that's great because it's a big-time game. I just wish it wasn't a Thursday night because it just puts both teams at a disadvantage to get ready to give us a quality football game. And the game's got so much of importance, and now it's being jammed into a Thursday. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is a little bit. They set this up, the NFL. This is the first time, right, that we've seen a Thursday night game flexed in like this. And the Broncos had to agree to it since it was their second road Thursday night game, which no team is supposed to be able to do. But the Broncos went ahead and did it because then that means the Bengals, who originally were there with the Browns, now they have a short week to face the Broncos next week. So it was a little bit of a strategy play on the Broncos side of things. We'll see if it ends up working out in their favor. But, yeah, I mean, you're seeing two teams that are both right in the mix, obviously penciled in right now into the wild card, and they got to face each other on a bit of a short week. They're both a little banged up coming into it. But, at the same time, I mean, this is kind of what the league is. And I guess for the Broncos, if there's one way you can view it besides the fact that you're sort of stiff in Cincinnati with a shorter week is maybe the Chargers, who are favored in this game, and a lot of people think that they're the better team overall anyways, maybe they're a little bit reeling here, not only because they lost, but maybe they don't have a chance to really put their full game plan into facing you. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways the Broncos talk themselves into this being an advantage. But if they come out and they get sort of beaten up by the Chargers, who are going to be looking desperation time after what happened against Tampa Bay, then that's going to be one of the conversations we get to have. Like, all right, this was a calculated risk on Sean Payton's side. Didn't plan out. Let's see what their response is, because this is a big game. I mean, you win this game, and like I said, you put yourself at least in the 6th seed, and you have a chance to maybe even knock the Chargers completely out of this thing here pretty quick, because there's some teams on their heels that might even win out. So there's some fascinating things at play here, and it's a big game, as you mentioned.
And don't you get the sense that maybe the Charger game on Thursday might be your best chance? Just seal it up now, because the at Cincinnati game is going to be tough, and Kansas City, of course, is Kansas City. So I think this is your best chance. You got to take it now, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
No, you've got to view it this as a bit of a must-win, even though we know that your margins are a little bit better because you do have Cincinnati on the other side of this thing, and then Kansas City, we'll see what they're even playing for at that point, right? I mean, and especially with Patrick Mahomes and the high ankle sprain, they may be Carson Wentz you're playing against here at home. So you've got to get one of these next three. You really like those odds, and certainly they're better odds than the Broncos have had in many years. But at the same time, none of these are gimmies, and you probably are going to be an underdog really in all three. Like that's the legitimate point of this whole thing. You're the 6th seed right now, and you're going to be an underdog for the remainder of the year. So there's nothing that's guaranteed throughout this process, and you've got to look at each game as an opportunity to stack a win and maybe improve your standings.
All right, on social at R Edwards Radio. 850 KOA in Denver. Ryan Edwards here on the Rip City Drive. Dude, always great talking with you, man. Enjoy the game on Thursday, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks, buddy.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I love Ryan. You guys so good. Yeah, it's big. Big game on Thursday. Big thanks to Ryan Edwards. Bo Nix having one heck of a rookie season. Man, Nix and Herbert doing Oregon proud right now. We get the Oregon matchup on Thursday. I can't believe that was a shocking result yesterday. The Buccaneers going into L.A. and just smacking the Chargers around 40-17. What? I mean, they're probably going to be really pissed off when they take the field on Thursday, I would guess, right? All right, we'll keep things rolling. Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhart's coming up at 6 o'clock following the Rip City Drive. So he'll dive in on the Portland Trailblazers. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Chris Burkhardt's got Courtside Monday coming up at 6. I like your idea about solving this portal issue. Why not have the schools allow for late arriving students? After the final bowl game, you open up the portal, and these kids can register late so they can still be a part of spring ball if they're going to go to a new school. That would seem like a simple solution, because I don't see you're not going to be able to move spring ball. It's got to stay where it's at. And the players need time to be able to pick their new school and go through the recruiting process and to get admitted into the school. But if these institutions would make special allowances for these kids that are on the move in the portal, then it would solve the issue of participation with some of the playoff games or the bowl games.
No, absolutely. Like you're talking about, you've seen it here with like even Oregon, right? Getting some guys going into the portal. And at first you might go, okay, well, that's a rotation guy who's only played in 3 games this year. I go, yeah, but you're going into the playoffs. You're an injury away from needing that guy, right?
Exactly.
And if he's in the portal, now you're screwed. And so, yeah, I think you need to find a way to move that portal window so that it does not open until the end of the championship game. Then it can open. And I also think, Chad, that if you're going to start giving out this NIL money, not only from the collectives, but the schools are now going to be allowed to actually slip them money, that you need to be contractually obligated to earn that money, right? So it'd be no different than you saying, hey, Burkhardt, I want you to host a show here for me at Rip City Radio. I'm going to sign you to a 1-year deal, and now I'm obligated to try to stay through that contract. And so I think that should be something that they do. So like, hey, you're here. If you want your full allotment of NIL money that I say I'm going to give you, you got to stay till the end of the football season. You leave early, you lose out on that contract.
Yeah, like I'm not mad at the backup quarterback at Penn State for wanting to jump into the portal. He's doing what's best for him based on the way the system is set up.
Yeah.
But what if Penn State needs a backup quarterback?
Exactly, because we always go back to this. They say the most important position in football is quarterback, and the second most important position is the backup quarterback, right? So if you're going into the playoffs now without your backup quarterback, I mean, imagine if you're Oregon and Dillon Gabriel goes down and you don't have Dante Moore ready to go.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
And even though we don't expect Gabriel to go down, it could happen. It's football.
Yeah.
It's a violent sport.
Absolutely it is.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, so that hurts. That hurts the teams that are here playing. And I think you're going to find a way, quite honestly, Chad, for these the NCAA to try to find the rule that ends up changing it and works with the schools, because heaven forbid one of those players get injured. You want that depth, because if you got a team in the college football playoff, you want the best football possible, right? So if you are losing depth to the portal, that's going to hurt that in the long run if you need it. You want those players. But I totally get it, because here's the thing. The portal's open now, and if you're the backup quarterback at Penn State, there's going to be a lot of teams who actually want you, right? Well, if you wait until your team goes through the playoffs, how many teams that could have signed you or you could have gone and been a starter said, we can't waste time, we need to go find our quarterback, and those positions are filled. It's just like free agency, man, in the NBA or the NFL. Like if I'm a star point guard and free agency just started and I just said, hey, I'm going to wait about 14 days before I sign a deal, kind of see how things work out. All the teams already filled their spots, and now you're left in the dark.
You know, the first time I think I saw it happen was back in 2014. It was Oregon and Utah playing a night game. When did these players start dropping the football before they enter the end zone? I don't understand.
I don't get it. It's the dumbest thing ever. And if I were a coach, the only thing I'm telling you is, hey, you score a touchdown and then you hand the ball to the referee. Or maybe, Chad, maybe you just pay a little more attention in math class, right? Because this is some basic geometry, right? If I'm running at 20 miles per hour and I'm 20 yards away from that line, how long do I have before I can release the ball and have it be in the end zone and not cause a penalty here? This stupidity. Just hold on to the ball till you get in.
Jonathan Taylor literally cost his team a game yesterday.
He did, and we have seen it. What was it? Kyle Williams, Utah and Oregon. Deshaun Jackson did it when he was with the Eagles. We have seen this happen over and over and over, and it's a head scratcher every single time it happens.
It's so bad.
Like, hold on to the ball. Like,
oh my goodness. You know, I'm really starting to fall in love with Denny Avia, man. He had another big game last night. I know the Blazers are, trying to get off the schneid right now, but Denny Avia is playing good basketball. 17 points, 7 boards, a few assists last night. His toughness, he's a much tougher basketball player than I thought, but he had him play. Coach had him playing some 5 last night. He's good off the screen and roll game. He'll attack the rim. He pushes the pace. Like, he is sprinkling the stat sheet every night. I love everything about him.
The best thing about it, Chad, is he's doing it. He's starting to get to the point where it's consistent. Like he's consistently giving you 16, 17, 6, 7 boards, 5 assists, doing everything and making the right plays. And what I like about him, man, is even when he gets a turnover or this and that, he's looking to make plays, which is big because he has that type of brain. Now, the conversations people have been getting in with me is like, where does he fit in the long-term plans? What about, starting at this position? Does he take minutes from 2? Whatever he does. I think it's really interesting because with Denny, got to remember, he was in the starting lineup, right, when there was injuries and this and that, and then they pulled him out, and he wasn't very happy about getting pulled out. And now I think he's realized how that fits his game a lot, playing this 6-man role, and that's where he's got that role of consistency. So I sit there and I look at a guy like Denny, and I'm like, I think he's part of the Blazers' long-term plans, but doesn't necessarily have to be part of the Blazers' long-term starting 5. Because look at what Manu Ginobili did in San Antonio, right? He was an all-star the year he was a starting guard for them. 2 years later, they transitioned him to that 6-man role. Yeah. He absolutely redefines the position. Despite the fact that he was one of their probably top 3 players, talent-wise, he was coming off the bench. And Denny Avdia kind of plays like that because he's played this year like one of the best players on the roster. But if you take him off of that bench rotation, what do you have? Scoot hasn't been playing well. Right? You have Robert Williams, who's pretty good. He's going to go get you his 8 points, but he's not a scoring threat. Jabari Walker, Chris Murray, Rayon Rupert. Those guys aren't lighting up the scoreboard. Denny Avdia gives you that spark, and I love that role for him.
I think what they're missing right now, they need one or both. They need Scoot and Shaedon to emerge, right? Like Shaedon played 32 minutes last night, but he only made 5 of 15 from the floor. Like they're wanting him to take over, but he's been inconsistent in that process.
The thing with both of them right now, man, is they're both hesitating, and I don't know why. Like I have said this on game day in the 5th quarter. I want Shaedon Sharpe to end every single night the Blazers play with the most shot attempts on the team.
Yeah, and coach is encouraging him to be aggressive.
You're a shooting guard, as Kobe Bryant once said. Shooting is in the name of the position you play. Shoot the ball. Yeah. Right? Get out there, be aggressive, but he's hesitant. That's something Coach Billups has talked about, right? Sometimes he makes the pass when he just wants him to shoot. And then Scoot is being very, very creative. Like he's out there and he's trying to make the right passes and this and that. But even him, man, it's like it's like a guy who's trying to drive down the freeway but hasn't shifted out of first gear for some reason. Like, why are your hazards on and you're just tootling along? We're not going for a joyride, man. It's the Audubon. Open it up a little bit.
It's my favorite moment in a Trailblazers visiting locker room where it was after a Laker game. Kobe had one of those classic awful shooting nights at Moda where he was like 12 of 35 or some awful percentage. And I don't even know the guy because I didn't recognize him, but he was a total nerd. And Kobe was looking the other direction. This guy chimed in. He's like, yeah, you had a poor shooting night, 12 of 35. Don't you think you should have maybe looked to get your teammates involved? Kobe paused. There was like 3 seconds of dead air. He turned his head, looked directly in the guy right in the eyes. He goes, I'm a shooting guard. Get over it.
Right.
It's such a great response. It's like, dude, my job is to shoot the basketball. I'm not looking for my teammates.
Right. Speaking of that, you know what my favorite moment in the visiting locker room was Jameer Nelson playing with the Magic towards the end of his career. He's been in the league now like 12, 13 years, whatever it was. Yeah. And he's sitting there. He's the old man in the locker room. And he looks at one of the locker room attendants. He's like, hey, can you go get me a beer? And the guy's like, what? He's like, yeah, I want a beer, a nice cold beer. And so the guy goes, whatever. And he goes and he gets him beer. And he comes back. He's like, here's your beer. Like, you really want a beer? He's like, yeah. And he goes, you're an NBA player. What are you doing drinking beer in the locker room? And he goes, I've been in this league for over a decade. I could do whatever I want. And he just shotguns this beer after the game. And oh my gosh, I never forget. I loved it. I was like, that is flex on us, my man. It was great.
That's so cool, man. It's like, hey, I like to have a cold one after the game. I think it was Don Nelson who he would always take a 6-pack of Miller Lite to his little office area after every game and crack them open, man.
It's like one day at media dining, Sean's came in and Aaron Grossman was picking on him. He's like, hey, you can't eat here with the media. And he goes, I'm Bill Schonely. I can do whatever the blank I want. He just throws food on his plate. So good.
And he's not wrong.
Not wrong.
Not wrong. All right, Chris Burkhart's got Courtside Monday coming up next. I'll be back with the Rip City Drive tomorrow. Big thanks to Ryan Edwards and Brian Noe, Michael Shacker. Enjoy your evening, and we'll talk tomorrow. Chris Burkhart, Courtside Monday up next.